So this episode picks up with the aftermath of the fight between Dolly and Summer. Dolly's over there getting her hand wrapped up, and Tasiki goes up to Dolly and tells her that Lex is over there crying, and Dolly ends up blurting out that she thinks that Lex is crying because Summer ended up saying that the two of them went down on each other before. And obviously Tasiki is in shock hearing this information. She didn't think it was true at first. She was trying to figure out what was really going on. So she ends up going up to Summer and asking her in front of some of the other girls if it was true, and Summer said that it was true, that they went down on each other. She said that Lex went down on her and she went down on Lex. And all week, everybody has been going at, Big Lex, telling her that she needs to confront Dolly and she needs to fight Dolly because Dolly's the one that exposed what happened between Summer and Lex. But Lex ended up doing a whole YouTube video last week, and she said that it was not true, that Dolly was not the one who exposed it first. It was actually Summer. After the security broke up the fight between Summer and Dolly were yelling stuff out at each other, Summer was the one who said that her and Lex went down on each other. That's what she said after they got pulled apart. And that's the reason why when Tasiki went up to Dolly right after the fight was broken up while she was getting her hand wrapped and she told her that Lex was crying, that's the reason why Dolly automatically assumed that Lex was crying because Summer exposed that. Lex said in her video that they completely edited that part out where Summer yelled that out after the fight was broken up between her and Dolly. And I believe Lex. I'm sorry, I believe her because I was not there, and we know that the editing is crazy on this show. They edit a lot of stuff out, and I believe they did edit that out because Dolly didn't know anything happened between Summer and Lex. She found out when the fight got broken up between the two of them and Summer yelled it out. So Dolly did think that that was the reason why Lex was crying. I'm gonna believe Lex because I wasn't there and she was, so she knows what happened and I don't. But the thing is, Lex completely brushed this information off because after Tasiki went to Summer and Summer said that it did happen, when they all ran up to Lex and told her what Summer said, she didn't really take it seriously. She basically laughed it off. But Summer was over there talking to Killa, Fauna, and Tavy, and she was talking about the situation between her and Lex, and she was licking her lips and everything. Like, she was doing a lot when it comes to that situation. And so Lex goes over there because Killa felt like it was wrong for them to be discussing this situation with Lex not over there to defend herself, which I like that about Killa. You can tell that she kind of likes Lex a little bit. She knows her friends don't really like her, but she likes Lex. So Lex comes over there and Lex ends up confronting Summer. She asked her what she was saying to all the other girls about the two of them allegedly going down on each other, and Summer completely acted like she didn't say that. She said that all she said was that she whooped her friend, talking about Dolly, but that's not what she said, and she knows she didn't. To me, that's somebody who's guilty, because I feel like if you're telling the truth and the person who you said something about comes up to you and confronts you about it, I feel like you would be right up front and say, yeah, I did say it. You went down on me and I went down on you. That's not what she said when Lex confronted her in front of people. So to me, either Summer was afraid or Summer was lying. In my opinion, I don't feel like Summer's telling the truth. I personally don't feel like Lex went down on Summer. I feel like Summer went down on her. We saw her rubbing all up on Lex plenty of times, and all the other girls as well. Even Janelle had to make a post confronting Summer because Summer was doing the same thing to her. So I don't believe it, but I was not there. And honestly, this is none of anybody's business. Nobody should have ever known that this happened between the two of them because it's nobody's business. Even if Summer did go down on Lex, that's nobody's business. I mean, nobody needs to know about it. And I feel like Summer exposing that, I just feel like she's messy. And she's sitting over there laughing about it, talking to the other girls about it, and she doesn't realize that the only reason why the girls are laughing about it is because they think Summer's gross. They think that it's disgusting that Lex would even let Summer put her mouth on her because they think Summer is gross. So while she thinks they're laughing with her, they're really laughing at her because they think you're disgusting and they think that it's gross that Lex would even let you get that close to her. That's why they're laughing about it, because they think Summer's nasty. Because let's be for real, if it was any other girl that Lex had messed around with on the show, I don't think it would have even been a big deal to anybody. I don't think anybody would have cared about it, but because it had Summer involved, that's the reason why it was a big deal. Now, Summer is over there laughing and talking with Tavy, Fauna, and Killa, and she's telling them that she whooped Dolly and saying that Dolly's duck and wreck, and Dolly didn't duck anything. Dolly fought all her fades in that one episode. Last week was Dolly's episode. Yes, I did not like the comments that she made about Killa's daughter. That was absolutely disgusting, but the episode overall was Dolly's episode. She didn't duck anything, and Summer did not win that fight. I think she was too drunk to realize that she lost that fight with Dolly, but she definitely lost that fight with Dolly. And you got Tavy over there laughing with Summer while she's saying this stuff about Dolly. Why would you laugh with her while she's talking about somebody who used to be her friend? Because Summer's over there calling Dolly a dope fiend, but she didn't have a problem with that when she was friends with Dolly. So that makes me look at her sideways. And Tavy's over there there laughing with her, like Summer won't expose her too if they became friends and they fell out. And the thing is, when Lex was confronting Summer, she was telling Summer that she didn't want to fight her, that she didn't want to put her hands on her, that she did not want to go there with her because they used to be friends with each other. She kept telling Summer that she was not going to fight her and she didn't want to. So you can tell that the reason why she whoops Summer later on in this episode is not because of Summer exposing that the two of them did something sexually with each other. That's not the reason, because if Lex was mad about that, she would have popped Summer right then and there, but she didn't. It was because of something else that happened. So after all the drama is over, all the baddies are going to the baddies buses so they can go back to their hotels at the end of the night. And as Lex is walking onto the baddies bus, Summer's sister and her niece try to attack her, okay? They try to attack Lex. Lex knows these two girls. She said that she met them before when she was friends with Summer. They try to attack her and security immediately grabs them. And this is actually the reason why Lex ends up beating up Summer in this episode. Not because Summer exposed that something happened between the two of them in the bedroom, because if that was the reason why, she would have hit her when they were all talking about it, but that's not why she fought her. She fights her because Summer ended up getting her niece and her sister to attack her, and she felt like Summer actually crossed the line. She said that she gave Summer a lot of grace. She said that she never wanted to have to put her hands on Summer because she did have love for her, but Summer getting her family members to attack her, and who knows what they have on them, they could have weapons or anything, and Summer did not care. She got them to go after her, so now she feels like she has to go there with Summer. This is the thing that's crazy to me. Out of all the girls that have been beating on Summer, trying to attack her, sneaking her and everything, she chooses to get her family members and her friends to go after the two girls that have been riding with her for the past 2 seasons, having her back. She chose to get her family to go after Dolly and Lex, two people that have had her back, instead of going after other girls on the show like Mariah Lynn, Anna, Tasiki, you know, all those people that have been attacking her. I think it's crazy that she sent her family after Dolly and Lex and not the girls who have been trying to beat on her the past 3 seasons. Now the next day, Summer actually goes to talk to Scotty and Rolly, and she tells them that it's true that her and Lex messed around with each other. She's claiming that it was mutual. She's saying that they both went down on each other. Lex is saying something completely different. She's saying that Summer went down on her, but she didn't go down on Summer. They don't really believe what Summer's saying because they don't believe that Lex would put her mouth on Summer, because obviously a lot of the girls think Summer's gross. There's been a lot of rumors about her being dirty, so a lot of the girls don't believe that Lex would do that. I personally don't believe that Lex did it either. I don't believe that at all, especially because when Lex asked her about it, she wouldn't say it to her face. But what I will say is Rolly was right when she told Summer that it's not right for her to bring outsiders to come put their hands on the baddies. It's not safe to do stuff like that, and Summer claims that it wasn't intentional. But it's like, girl, you showed up to where the baddies were at and said that she brought all her cousins with her. She said all her family was in the car, and then some of her family members actually came with her when she went over there to confront Dolly, because then the other girls were trying to run at Dolly and Lex ran over there to stop them. I did think that it was weird that Scotty was a part of this conversation though, because she's not really one who can talk about friends, you know, being intimate with each other, when we know and we've seen the videos of her and Natalie when they were friends doing the same thing with each other. So she kind of needs to stay out of the conversation. She definitely didn't say much, but I'm just saying I thought it was weird to put her in this scene when she did the same thing. So Lex and Dolly do end up meeting up with Natalie in this episode, and they tell her everything that went down the previous night, because obviously Natalie was not there. And Dolly ended up telling Natalie that she actually ended up getting into a physical fight with Summer, and Natalie said that she thought the big three would have made up with each other by now, because she didn't think that whatever issues they had with each other was that serious. And Lex said the same thing. She tells Natalie that she thought that they could have worked it out too, because whatever issues that they had with each other, it wasn't that big of a deal, and that when her and Dolly tried to ask Summer what the issue is, because maybe they could take accountability for whatever they hurt Summer's feelings about, Summer would not tell them. So it's like, how could you work things out if you won't communicate? I'm not gonna lie though, Natalie had me cracking up a little bit while I was watching this scene, because when Lex told her what Summer said they did with each other, Natalie started laughing, and the way that she was talking about it, I just thought it was funny. I also thought it was funny that Dolly made it very clear during this conversation that it wasn't the big three being intimate with each other, because she had no parts in it and she does not swing that way. She wanted to make sure she made that very clear. Rolly was discussing this situation between Lex and Summer with everybody though, because she ends up meeting up with Tavy, Fauna, and Cole Killa in this episode, and they're all talking about the situation. And I actually agree with Tavy's point of view. She said that she didn't think it was necessary for anybody to know if anything went down with Summer and Lex. It's nobody's business, and I completely agree with that. I think that's something private and it's nobody's business, and honestly, they were making it seem like this was tea to sip on, when to me it really wasn't tea, because I just felt like it wasn't that big of a deal, honestly. They made it more of a big deal than it actually needed to be. If Lex was really that mad about that, she would have hit Summer when she said it. And Fauna was right too. She said that she doesn't know what to believe, because when Lex actually confronted Summer about it, Summer wouldn't repeat what she said said to Lex, and they don't know if she was afraid. I don't know, because Summer was drunk, so I don't know if she was actually afraid, because usually when she's drunk, she'll fight anybody. Now, Jayla, Scotty, Natalie, and Janelle end up meeting with each other in this episode, and honestly, this whole conversation was boring to me. I'm tired of Scotty and Natalie beefing with each other, just like I'm tired of Diamond the Body and Natalie beefing with each other. I think it's completely pointless to be on this show and beef with Natalie, because at the end of the day, it's her show. She's not going anywhere. So if you don't want to be around her, just don't be on the show anymore. Scotty had a problem with the rant that Natalie went on when it came to social media. Something happened between Natalie and Lemmy. Mariah Lynn was involved in the mix, and apparently Mariah Lynn has a video of Lemmy harming Scotty's dog. Mariah Lynn came out and said that Natalie was lying, that she doesn't actually have a video of that. But this is not the first time people have said that he did something to that dog. I'm not going to say he did it or didn't, because I really don't know and I haven't seen any video of it. But apparently that's why Scotty is upset, because her dog was mentioned during Natalie's rant. Natalie was sitting there saying that everything she said in that rant was true. I screenshotted that rant too when she did it, but I don't have any of those posts anymore. I got rid of all of them, so I don't remember what she said, but I know it had a lot to do with Mariah Lynn allegedly having a video of Lemmy harming Scotty's dog. Natalie decides to get up from the table and walk away, because she feels like Scotty is not trying to have a truthful conversation, and she's tired of always being the one that looks like the bad guy while Scotty gets to look like the victim, and she feels like Scotty plays a victim a lot. I'm never going to say that Natalie's innocent, okay, because we know how Natalie gets down. However, I do agree with Natalie. I feel like Scotty plays the victim a lot. I don't feel like she's this innocent person who does nothing wrong and doesn't say anything about anybody the way that she tries to portray herself on this show, and things are edited in Scotty's favor on this show because obviously she's dating Lemmy. I don't feel like Scotty's innocent, and I learned that last season when the situation between her and Lex went down and she kept acting like she wasn't antagonizing Lex when she was. So I definitely don't feel like Scotty's innocent. I feel like she talks bad about Natalie too. I feel like she does messy things behind the scenes too, but because people see her as innocent and people know Natalie from Bad Girls Club where she was always the villain, it's easy to believe that Natalie's always the one in the wrong. And she is in the wrong a lot of the times, but I feel like when it comes to this situation between her and some of the girls on the show, I feel like they all equally do things to each other. We don't know what really happens behind the scenes. So Natalie gets up and leaves the table, and Scotty is talking to Janelle, and she starts getting really snappy with Janelle, and I was so confused because Janelle was talking really sweet and calmly. Like, Janelle didn't have an attitude at all. And I mean, Scotty does get a little bit of a pass because she is pregnant, so that might be the reason why she got snappy with Janelle, but I just feel like she has all this energy for these women on this show, but she doesn't have that energy for Lemmy when he makes her look like a fool all the time. Rolly is really interested in this situation between Summer and Lex because she also ends up meeting up with Lex in this episode to find out what Lex has to say about everything that Summer has been saying. And basically, Rolly says that she feels like the reason why Summer has an issue with Lex and Dolly is because they did not jump in on her fight with Tasiki. But Summer didn't start saying that that was her issue with Dolly and Lex until the show was already done and over with. And then she started going live as this season has been airing. She didn't tell that to them in the moment, so they didn't know why she had an issue with them because she wouldn't say it. Lex said that she never told Summer that she was getting involved in her beef with Tasiki, and Dolly told her the same thing, so I don't understand what Summer's mad about. At the end of the day, Dolly ended up fighting Tasiki on her own too, and Summer wasn't there to help her, and she never asked her for any help, so I don't understand why Summer expects for Dolly and Lex to help her in all of her fights, especially when Summer's the one that starts all of her fights. Lex did say that something happened between her and Summer, but she said that she never went down on Summer, never made out with Summer, but Summer definitely went down on her. I believe Lex. I don't feel like she's lying about it. I don't feel like she put her mouth on Summer. That's just my belief. I don't feel like she did. I don't believe that she went down on Summer, but even if she did, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Like, honestly, people are acting like this is the first time we ever heard of two friends messing around with each other sexually. Like, I don't understand why that's that big of a deal. Lex did tell Rolly that initially she didn't want to put her hands on Summer because she had love for her and she never wanted to get into a fight with her, but because Summer had her two family members attack her, now she feels like Summer completely crossed the line, so when she sees Summer, something's gonna happen. Now, at the end of this conversation between Rolly and Lex, Rolly ended up telling Lex that she maybe needs to separate herself from both Summer and Dolly because the comments that Dolly made about, Killa's daughter was disgusting, and they were disgusting, okay? I don't necessarily feel like Lex has to stop being friends or stop being cool with Dolly, but I do agree that she needs to be doing her own thing this season and not be connected to the two of them like that, but that doesn't mean that she needs to end her friendship with her. Now, the baddies end up pulling up to the new baddies house in Atlanta Atlanta, and Lex is outside going off on Tommie because apparently Tommie showed up in a car with a bunch of people that are not a part of the cast of the show, and Lex does not trust it because the last time Tommie pulled up with a group of people, they jumped out the car and was trying to fight the baddies, so she doesn't trust it. And look, I understand why she's upset because you can't really trust Tommie, and I like Tommie. I think Tommie's very entertaining, but she's also a liability, and I don't understand why they keep bringing her back on the show because somebody always gets hurt when Tommie's around, and I just feel like somebody's gonna end up really getting seriously hurt because Tommie doesn't know how to regulate her emotions and she does really reckless things. Now, Tommie won't get out the car, so Summer ends up walking out and she's talking shit to Lex, and Lex ends up calling Summer over so that the two of them can fight, and Summer's yelling things out to Lex, calling her a muncher, and so they start fighting with each other. And I'm not gonna lie, Lex was definitely catching Summer. Like, she was definitely catching Summer all up in her face. Summer was definitely windmilling, but to say that she kept up is absolutely insane. You have to watch it in slow motion. Summer was not keeping up. She was windmilling and swinging at the air with her eyes closed. So that's the first round between Lex and Summer, and it gets broken up pretty quickly. And so then things are starting to get really chaotic. Tommie comes out the car. She's yelling stuff. Lex is yelling stuff. And all of a sudden, Tommie takes a glass and she throws it at Lex and it completely breaks. Now, Lex is getting her eyes and her face wiped because obviously the shattered pieces of glass got in her face. And so she has little tiny cuts all on her face. They're small though, so she didn't get that much damage done to her. But I think that's insane that Tommie did that. And I think it's time for Zeus to stop bringing Tommie back on the show because she could have really hurt Lex doing that. And I saw people in the comment section saying that, you know, people need to leave Tommie alone. No, Tommie needs to learn how to control herself and stop taking stuff that damn seriously. I just feel like if she can't control herself, this is not the show for her to be on. While Lex is getting her face wiped, Summer is yelling things out at Lex again, and Tommie goes back in the car. She throws the glass and she gets back in the damn car because she doesn't want to actually fight Lex, but she leaves Summer out there by herself to fight Lex on her own, and Summer starts yelling stuff out to Lex, telling her that she whooped her and Dolly, and so Lex calls her out and the two of them fight again. And oh my god, Lex gets on top of Summer and she starts wailing on her, but security broke up that fight pretty quickly too, which Lex was really mad about because she's in a rage right now and all she sees is red, and so she's getting pissed off of the fact that security keeps breaking up the fights. So Summer still starts yelling things out at Lex again. She starts saying that she used to have love for Lex and now she doesn't, and she tells Lex that she tried to play her. So Lex has a really confused look on her face because she doesn't know how she tried to play Summer, and she ends up asking Summer, "Play you how?" And then she walks up on Summer and the two of them start fighting again. And I'm just like, damn, Summer, be quiet because you're really getting beat up right now. Like, learn how to be quiet. It's like she drinks and she doesn't know when to stop, because honestly, if she was sober, I don't think this would have happened. And Summer was rolling with Tommie at this point. Like, Tommie was her friend. Tommie was the person that she was hanging out with when they weren't filming, and she was actively, you know, on lives with her and everything at this time, talking bad about Lex. But yet Tommie's in the car and she's leaving Summer out there to get beat up by Lex. Like, I'm pretty sure one or two of those ass whoopings that Lex gave to Summer in this episode were meant for Tommie, but Tommie was not about to come over there and fight Lex. That's why she threw the glass and she went in the car. And Tommie had the audacity when Summer walked up to the car door to ask Summer if she was good. Girl, you know she's not good. She just been getting her ass beat for the last 5 minutes and you're sitting in the car not having her damn back. But that's what Summer gets because she chose people that don't really care about her over people that actually had her back. So I think Tommie says something to Biggie from the car, and Biggie starts yelling things out to Tommie, and then Lex ends up telling Tommie that she's next, and that's when a dude ends up coming out of the car and he starts yelling things out at Lex, which I don't understand why he's in women's business for. I just don't understand that. So Lex ends up throwing the water that was in her water bottle at him, and some of it splashes, and then he throws a drink at her, and then chaos erupts. Like, security is all over the place. The baddies are running over to the car. Lex ends up getting inside of the car and doing something. Like, some shit was happening over there. I don't think that Tommie should keep being allowed to show up to the house with outsiders. I just don't think that's okay, especially not a guy and he's sitting there out the window yelling at one of the girls on the show. It's like, mind your business. And Summer wasn't even able to get into the car with Tommie. The door shut and she ended up getting grabbed by security, and so again, Summer's left by herself to defend herself, and so she starts yelling things out at Lex again. This girl just really doesn't know when to be quiet. I think Lex would have been done putting her hands on her, but because Summer kept antagonizing her, that's the reason why she kept running at her. So she comes at Lex again and again. Lex ends up running at her and she gets her on the floor and she starts whooping her, and this time security took a really long time to break up this fight. I felt like security should have broke it up pretty quickly. I don't care if I don't like Summer. I definitely do feel like security don't like her because they keep letting her get beat up for long periods of time, because remember last season when Ivory was whooping her and had her on the ground too, just like like Lex did, Security was not breaking it up, and Lex had to go over there and break it up herself because Security was taking too long. And now Summer is bleeding because Lex really didn't do her that bad the first few rounds. Like, I don't think she was trying to beat her like that, but because Summer kept running her mouth, that last round, she ended up really getting her. And I feel like Lex was in a rage because she felt like she was betrayed. Summer was supposed to be her friend. Summer keeps antagonizing her, coming at her, getting her families to try to attack her, spreading rumors about her, and then Lex got tired of it, and eventually it turned into rage. And honestly, you could tell that that was passion in that fighting. Like, and I don't think it was because she exposed that the two of them had something intimate going on, because if that was the case, like I said before, she would have hit Summer when she confronted her about it, and she didn't. It was because Summer had people attack her, and that's why she went after her like that. I think she felt really betrayed and realized that she couldn't trust Summer, and that everything that everybody was saying about Summer was actually right. And I feel like that's a hard pill to swallow. But those are my thoughts on this week's episode of Baddies USA. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video.